Rhaenyra's Revenge. The Queen finally wins the Dance of the Dragons, a dramatic reimagining where Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen triumphs in the Targaryen civil war known as the Dance of the Dragons. Welcome back, everyone, to the channel where fantasy meets strategy and nostalgia fuels our digital adventures. Dragon fire across the skies, battlefields littered with ash, a throne room cast in shadows. The realm was torn apart by dragonfire and ambition, the Dance of the Dragons, a war that shattered House Targaryen and left the Iron Throne soaked in blood. But what if history took a different path? What if Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen didn't fall to betrayal, but rose in vengeance? This is the story of how the Black Queen turned despair into dominance, how Rhaenyra finally won the Dance of the Dragons. The fall that never was. Visuals. Dragonstone, Rhaenyra weeping over Lucerys' death, but then gripping her sword in resolve. Rhaenyra's world shattered the day her son Lucerys Velaryon was murdered. Storm's End turned into a trap, and Aemon Targaryen fed Lucerys to Vhagar's jaws. In another world, Rhaenyra descended into grief. But not here. Here, the Black Queen's fury became a weapon. With Daemon at her side, she didn't wait. She struck. Her spies lit the fires of vengeance in King's Landing itself. Assassins crept into the Red Keep, not to kill Aegon, but to burn his dragon Sunfire alive in its lair, leaving the usurper king vulnerable. And so it began. The first flames of vengeance. Visuals. King's Landing riots, dragons over Dragonstone, alliances forming. The Blacks moved faster and fiercer. Rhaenyra rallied the Riverlords before the Greens could fortify. House Blackwood, House Tully, and even the Baratheons, furious that Aemond used Storm's End for blood, sided with her cause. Rhaenyra sent Syrax, Daemon sent Caraxes, and together they devastated House Hightower's fleets in the Battle of the Honeywine. Aldtown trembled as Dragonfire licked its gates. Meanwhile, Aegon II's injuries from Sunfire's death left him broken in both body and spirit. Alicent tried to control the council, but infighting among the Greens shattered their unity. Then came the real strike, one not from the skies, but within the walls. Aegon's fall. Visuals. Larys Strong's betrayal, Queen Alicent's tears, King's Landing falling into chaos. Larys Strong, once the Queenmaker, betrayed the Greens. Secretly aligning with Daemon, he unlocked the gates of King's Landing in exchange for dominion over the city's spy network under the new queen. At nightfall, Rhaenyra flew Syrax above the Red Keep. From its gates marched her army, Velaryon troops, Black Loyalists, Riverlanders, and dragons. Panic erupted. Aegon II tried to flee, but Daemon confronted him in Maegor's Holdfast. There, steel clashed. The duel was savage. Though wounded, Daemon defeated Aegon, slashing the king's sword hand and throwing him before Rhaenyra. She didn't kill him, yet. She wanted him to watch her sit the Iron Throne. And so she did. For the first time, Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen ruled from the Iron Throne. The crown's price. Visuals. Rhaenyra in black, thorns behind her crown, people kneeling, others whispering fearfully. But victory had its cost. King's Landing feared her. Many remembered the violence, the dragons, the death. Rhaenyra's rule was forged in fire, and many whispered she was the Mad Queen reborn. Still, she worked tirelessly. She appointed Baela and Rhaena as her heirs, protectors. She legitimized bastards, pardoned enemies like Lord Curlys Velaryon, and restructured the small council with minds of both wisdom and war. But not everyone accepted her rule. Helaena Targaryen, Aegon's sister-wife, refused to bend the knee. When her twin sons were taken hostage, she leapt from the tower of the Red Keep, leaving the people mourning a woman they considered the true queen. Public opinion began to turn. Rhaenyra knew fear alone could not sustain her power. Aemond's vengeance. Visuals. Vhagar in the clouds, dark skies over Harrenhal, Aemon's eye burning with fury. But the war was far from over. Aemon Targaryen vanished after Aegon's fall, only to return months later with Vhagar and a brutal army raised in the Reach. He attacked Harrenhal, slaughtered Rhaenyra's loyalists, and declared himself the true heir. Aegon was imprisoned, yes, but Aemon wanted war. And war he got. The skies turned black as Vhagar clashed with Caraxes over the Riverlands. The Second Battle of Harrenhal was a bloodbath. Daemon and Aemond plunged into the God's Eye Lake, and only one dragon surfaced. Vhagar, limping and wounded, no rider upon her. Daemon was gone. Aemon II. Their duel became legend. Rhaenyra wept, but she hardened. She wouldn't let Daemon's death be in vain. Blood for the crown. Visuals. Rhaenyra riding Syrax, firestorm in the Reach, towns ablaze, stormy skies. Rhaenyra unleashed her wrath. With Vhagar wounded and Caraxes gone, she unleashed the might of her remaining dragons. Meleys, Moondancer, and Syrax rained death upon green loyalists. The Hightowers begged for peace after Aldtown burned. Aegon II, once a prisoner, was brought forth again. But this time, Rhaenyra didn't gloat. In the Great Sept, before lords and small folk, she condemned him. You usurped my birthright. You fed war to the realm. You murdered my son. And with a dragon's fire, she ended him, publicly. The war was over. Rebuilding the realm. Visuals. Ash-covered thrones, banners being stitched anew, people rebuilding streets. Queen Rhaenyra's reign began truly in fire and blood, but it didn't end that way. She abolished cruel taxes, opened trade across the narrow sea, and united Westeros through fear, but also fairness. She married her son Joffrey Velaryon to a Stark daughter, bringing the North under her rule. She established a council of women, unheard of in Westeros, to ensure female voices were heard in policy. She outlawed the cruelest Targaryen traditions, like forcing siblings to wed, and offered compensation to towns devastated by dragonfire. But wounds take time, and many never forgot. The Queen's final war. Visuals. An assassin's blade, a burning fleet, Rhaenyra in armor again. Years passed. Peace reigned, until a last spark threatened the realm. One of Aegon's bastards, Jaemon the Pale, rose in Essos with a fleet and sellsword army, claiming to be the true son of Viserys. Backed by rogue dragon riders and enemies of House Targaryen, he sailed for Westeros. Rhaenyra, now older but unyielding, mounted Syrax one last time. Over the stepstones, fire met fury. Rhaenyra herself led the charge. In the sky, she battled rogue dragons and defeated Jaemon's drake in a fierce aerial duel. Though injured, Syrax tore the enemy beast apart. The fleet was sunk. Jaemon was executed. The Queen had defended her realm one final time. The Black Queen's legacy. Visuals. A silver-haired woman seated on the Iron Throne, her shadow long, her crown darker than ever. Queen Rhaenyra ruled for 12 years after her final war. She died peacefully in her bed, a rarity for a Targaryen monarch. Her son Joffrey succeeded her, and for a time, the realm knew peace. But history remembers her not as a peacemaker, nor just a ruler. She was the Black Queen, the mother who avenged her son, the dragon who refused to yield. She turned ashes into victory. She bent kingdoms to her will. And though the dance of the dragons tore the Targaryens apart, it was Rhaenyra who danced last. Visuals. Statues of dragons, a burning crown slowly fading into darkness, her legacy echoing through the halls of time. In another world, Rhaenyra was devoured by vengeance and betrayal. But here, she stood tall, crowned by fire, forged by loss, and remembered in legend. The dance of the dragons was not her end, it was her beginning. Rhaenyra Targaryen, the Queen who won. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for full breakdowns of trailers, cast interviews, behind the scenes, and deep dives into every episode of Kingsroad. Until then, remember, in Westeros, even the smallest step can echo across history.